And for you, it's not like this is new to you.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
all the ins and outs of low carb. You've done the Atkins diet. You've done basically a low carbohydrate diet from way back in the day, and you've kind of ridden the wave of paleo and then primal and Whole30 and
Oh yeah.
a keto, carnivore, all the things that have come since, and real food. And so it's not like you're unfamiliar with this. And I think this is where a lot of the people watching and listening right now are too. They're not unfamiliar with the message. What they don't understand is, what am I doing wrong in what I'm doing, and how can I rectify that? So we're doing this podcast today. This is kind of keto in the real world, guys.
Yeah.
And Hank wants to use this as an accountability. And I'm like, dude, I'm there with you. Because quite frankly, I would like to as well. I mean, the problem when you get to this stage in your life where you're doing the right things and you're genuinely doing it, not just allowing the carb creep. So yes, we're going to clean that up with you.
Yeah.
But once you start eating well, you may not see movement on the weight. And so then people go, well, I need to go extreme in the exercise, or I need to fast for 9,000 days, or they go right to those really desperate moves is what I would call them. I'm not saying movement, I'm not saying fasting is a bad thing, but you can take it to the point of, I've got to do that because weight loss is the goal at all costs. I don't buy that anymore.
Yeah.
To me, if I can get health markers, which I want to talk about some of yours because there are a few wonky ones in there, health markers are so much more important for guys close to 50 like you and I are, than weight. Now, granted, we both could probably use a few pounds off the body, but to me, if I had extra weight but had spectacular health markers, that's the bee's knees.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, when I first lost weight 11 years ago, I used that scale religiously to mark my journey because, well, one, that was an important marker for me. And it was, and for a lot of people, it's an easy way to gauge what's going on. But, like you said, you and I are 50 this winter. And what I've noticed over the last couple of weeks is I've only weighed a couple of times because it is frustrating. It's kind of, iffy up and down, even though my pants are fitting better. So, I've determined to just leave the scale alone. It is not an ultimate arbiter of what's actually going on. Exactly.
Sledgehammer to that bad boy. In fact, I was
Right.
invited I get invitations to all these summits, and one of them contacted me recently and said, hey, we got together a bunch of the keto people for this summit. We'd love to have your voice in it. And so I start looking into it. The name of the summit was Look Good Naked Summit. Nobody wants to see Jimmy more naked, I promise. And so it wasn't my philosophy, and I think those kinds of things feed into this.
Yeah.
Need to have to look good naked. Do certain people, look good without a shirt on? Like, I look at Sean Baker. I mean, dude is a stud.
Oh, yeah.
At 4 years old, and he has
that
body, that muscular build. And same with Paul Saladino. Same with Mark Sisson I think he's 70 now. Same with Rob Wool. I mean, I could go down the line of all these people that are stouts. Goody Beats. I mean, Thomas DeLauer. I'm going to insult a lot of my friends that I'm leaving out. Vega.
Oh, yeah.
It's so you know who you are, but it's not Jimmy and it's not Hank. And to me, that's okay. I don't have to look good naked. I want to feel good regardless.
Exactly. And that's what this is about, getting healthy, and maintaining health as opposed to looking a certain way because,
Well, every time I bring up this topic, I get people atting me. They're like, well, Jim, it's obvious that you're unhealthy because you have the weight on the body. And I know you've gotten that judgmentalness as well. It's almost kind of an unspoken sometimes, but when you're a public figure, they come after you. And they'll be like, well, you can't possibly be healthy and have weight on the body. And I just point to some of the studies that show it's actually healthier to have a little bit of weight on the body with good health markers. So let's get into your health markers for a moment, because this was one of the things that you're like, hey, I really kind of want to pinpoint some of this stuff. What are some of the concerns that you're running into that maybe I can help you interpret?
So the number one, and I'm going to get into A1C later this week because I know that's the ultimate way to judge it. But
A1C, for those of you that don't know, it's an average of your blood sugar at all times over the past 3 months. It's got a few little quirks about it that we can talk about at some other point, but it's a pretty good marker that shows what your glucose control is like. Keep going.
Right. So, and this is maybe another thing that we should talk about, because I know that A1C is a better picture. It gives the overall picture. But we tell people to check their blood sugar all the time. You judge your low carb lifestyle by, pricking your finger. And
I've changed my position on it.
I know you have.
What's that?
I said, I know you have.
I think blood sugar is a misleading marker because blood sugar is impacted very heavily by insulin, obviously.
Right.
Insulin and glucagon are the two hormones. Insulin tries to drive blood sugar down. Glucagon tries to drive it up to keep your blood sugar in that tight 80 to 100 range that most people keep it in that are healthy. But my problem is if you pop a normal blood sugar, but you have extremely high insulin that's creating that normal blood sugar, that ain't good for your body. That's called hyperinsulinemia, which I think is far worse than having high blood sugar. At least when it goes to high blood sugar, you do something about it. But when you see it in the normal range and you don't realize you got a 20-something insulin that's pushing that down to that level, that's when you have problems that you don't even know about.
Exactly. My fasting blood sugars have been just crazy high, like 130 to 150
In the morning?
In the morning when I wake up. And then I typically fast through breakfast and we'll have lunch 12, 1 o'clock, thereabouts. And when I do eat, it comes on down.
Are you hungry at all when you wake up and you have that 130, 150, whatever?
Never.
Are you hungry at all?
Never.
So that's a really high, if it's the dawn phenomena thing, that's a really high fasting blood sugar in the morning. Now, I have seen people pop a 120, 130 with dawn phenomena. It's actually this thing called glucose sparing effect, where the body has so much glucose from the cortisol that it used to wake you up. So that raises your glucose level. And so it kind of gives you this false sense of you have high blood sugar. But then you said you eat a meal around midday and then it comes back down. But we don't know if it came down because of the hyperinsulinemia, which we talked about. So I really hope you get an insulin reading as well, fasting insulin. That would be. And what would be really fascinating is not just fasting insulin, but postprandial insulin. So I think a at least 2-hour GTT, glucose tolerance test, maybe even a 5-hour GTT, so you can see when blood sugar goes down, what's happening to that insulin level. So that might be a little hard to tease out because most doctors want to give you that big bolus of glucose. I don't want you to eat that. I want you to eat your normal keto meal. And then as that blood sugar comes down, what's happening to the insulin at the same time? That would be fascinating to know. Until we have an at-home meter, we can prick our finger and do all that with insulin. We just don't know, and we're at the mercy of doctors to run this.
I know for years you've said if an at-home insulin test were to come to market, you would be one of the first investors.
Oh my gosh. Trillions of dollars will be made off of that.
Oh, yeah.
Game changer. All of this nonsense with low-fat, high-carb diets would go away because if people could see what all those healthy whole grains and quinoa and all that is doing to their insulin, oh yeah, there's no way. Now, I'm not saying insulin's bad. Insulin, if you didn't have it, you die, so you need insulin. But I think what happens is people eat foods, spike insulin, and don't even realize it, and you don't feel it. It's not like you have pain associated with high insulin levels, But then you see a blood sugar in the normal range, oh, everything's fine, and you're just having this progressively higher, higher, higher. And especially if you're eating foods that are exacerbating blood sugar, which then the insulin has to pump out even more, and then you're becoming insulin resistant, which then makes it even more, and before long, you're type 2 diabetic. Have you ever been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes?
No. I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes years ago, but then it all came back into normal range.
So let's define terms for people. So when you have an A1C level over 6.5, that is clinically type 2 diabetes. I think they may have even raised it to 7. They're trying to make it seem softer. No. When you hit 6.5, you full-blown diabetes. That's somewhere around averaging like 130, 135 in your blood sugar. That's horrible. 6.0 to 6.5 is generally kind of pre-diabetes. Over 5.5 is you're leaning in that direction. I know a lot of the doctors I've interviewed on this show say get it under 5.5 and optimally under 5.0.
Right.
The last one I had ran, I need to run some numbers again soon. My A1C was 5.1, which is good. But I'll be interested to see what yours is in light of this postprandial, your blood sugar coming down like a rock. That doesn't impress me, Hank, until I know what's happening with the blood sugar and your insulin levels. Hey guys, you know I'm all about healthy nutrition, and I have a brand new product I want to tell you about called Athletic Greens. This is not just a multivitamin. It has 75 essential elements that you want to have in your diet, from probiotics to greens to digestive enzymes to prebiotics. There's so many things that they pack into the Athletic Greens. The main reason why I love them is it puts it all in one place. Like literally you'd have to a la carte buy all of these different supplements, and they do it all in one package. So if you go to athleticgreens.com/Jimmy, and you can get a special discount if you go there, and the discount is you get a free 1-year supply of their vitamin D as well as some of their travel packs. Go check it out, you guys. athleticgreens.com/Jimmy.
I know, and it's we're learning so much more about the mechanisms behind what's happening. I remember 10, 11 years ago, a fun thing that we would do on the blog was to take several different diet drinks with different sweeteners and drink some and then test your blood sugar. And, what we're finding out now is with sweeteners like Ace K, they don't affect your blood sugar, but they are affecting your insulin on the back end. And, it's so much more complex than we once thought it was.
Yeah, Dr. Nally and I wrote a whole chapter in the Keto Cure about sweeteners, and that was one of the things that Dr. Nally noticed. He was having chronically low ketone levels, and blood sugar would be a little elevated. He just couldn't understand, and he had a diet Dr. Pepper addiction. So when he realized the nasty tame in there, that's my little pet name for aspartame for those of you who hadn't heard, and the Ace K kind of in combination, that's what was causing the issue. He removed that, ketones shot up, and blood sugar came down. And it's so amazing. Things that seem legal on keto could cause problems, even though there's 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, but 0 impact.
It's crazy. So the blood sugar going wonky is one thing. And I've also developed sleep apnea over the last year, and which never had any problem with before. And all of this stuff's kind of happened since, the virus.
That stress from that. Let's be honest with each other, like out there, everybody watching, like the last year and a half has sucked. Like if you didn't get negatively impacted, you are superhuman. Like, let's just be. And of course, I had on top of that a very stressful situation for me personally. And so it's brutal on people's bodies. And so number one, forgive yourself if things went awry. Don't beat yourself up about it. None of us knew this pandemic was going to happen. None of us knew some of the things that happen in our personal life. I know you've had various things in your personal life that have happened, happy things like a new grandbaby, other things happening that are stressful. because there were little moments there in the midst of the pregnancy of your daughter that kind of
Right.
got swirly and gave you stress. So we have to factor all these things in. And I think if we ignore those things, Hank, we're doing a disservice to ourselves